Good afternoon, Abhishek.
Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, how's day going? क्या चल रहा है सबका? Hope everybody is on laptop or computer today.
Yeah,
कोई
yeah, we are on laptop.
yeah, most of you are. Give me a thumbs up guys if you are on laptop. Good to hear that most of us are on laptop today. Thank you. Also, I hope yesterday's session was clear to everybody. Do we have any doubt around it? We can discuss it first, then in today's session we are going to discuss about the statistical formulas or the daily life useful formulas for an investment banker or a financial modeling person uh, we used to follow. No doubts around. If anybody has, please feel free to raise hand, otherwise we will start the today's session of those formulas. Everybody's clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes.
good to hear that. Let me share my screen. Please let me know if it is visible. I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
in Thank you for confirming. So in today's class, we are going to discuss three types of formulas. First is statistical functions. Second is mathematical. Third is financial functions. So in statistical functions, how do we are starting with? They specifically help in making a statistical decision. Let's say most of us would have used average formula in Excel, right? Anybody here who do not know how to use Excel average function or WVG? So let's say we'll discuss about the live markets, how these formulas are used. I would consider here as a multiple. What multiple should we choose? EV revenue multiple. And here we will note down the company name. So can anybody let me know what is a EV revenue multiple? What do we call as a EV revenue multiple? Any broad idea?
EV is the enterprise value that we calculate for any company by using
Correct.
the debt, the equity, and the cash they have in the system. And
Correct.
revenue is the sales that they've done for the year.
Right, Vitika. Thanks for answering. For a broader class, guys, what does enterprise value mean? Let's say if we ask you that the share price of a particular company is 180 rupees. Let's say Reliance Industries share price is 1800 rupees. That share price is going to give me a market capitalization. Let's say the 100 shares of Reliance Industries are outstanding in the market. Now, what would be the market capitalization of Reliance Industries? Anybody can take it up. What should I do to calculate the market capitalization of Reliance Industries?
Multiply share price by the.
Multiply share price by number of shares, right? So I
Yes.
multiply 1800 rupees share price into 100 number of shares. I got market capitalization of Reliance. But what does the enterprise value mean? Enterprise value is the summation of market capitalization, or what we call as equity capital market value, plus net debt. What does a net debt mean? Net debt mean all the borrowings that a entity has taken subtracted by the value of cash and cash equivalent that it has in its books. So if we sum up these two things, share values, market capitalization, and net debt, we are going to get a value that is known as enterprise value. In short term, we dictate it at EV. So in market, transactions happen on transaction value. That transaction value is ideally a enterprise value. They generally, unlisted transactions do not happen on market capitalization value. What multiple is denoted is known as enterprise value. One question, guys: why the transactions multiple usually is seen on enterprise value? Why it is not on the equity value? Let's say, hypothetical example: my revenue for my company is 1500 crores Indian rupees. My equity market value, which is known as market capitalization, is 15,000 crores. Enterprise value, that is known as EV, is sort of 23,000 crore rupees. My question to you guys is, why the market transactions happen at enterprise value, not at equity market generally? Why, while computing a multiple, I should compute EV to revenue multiple to look at what sort of valuation should I give to my company rather than giving a equity to revenue multiple? Wide guesses would also work with
Maybe
the
because
revenue. Yeah.
market value is generally can be overvalued and undervalued also. That's why.
Yeah. So in first class, home, if you remember, we discussed two things. First, if I want to raise capital, I have two options. Either I can go for equity funding or I can go for loan funding, right? That going for fundraising through equity or loan is my own decision, right? Market participant, any other company in the market could have a different loan, could have a different equity, right? So what market itself looks is they used to combine the value of both these instruments, equity capital as well as debt in capital. Why they combine both the capital? Because there could be a company जिसके पास 100% equity है books में, लोन बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. There could be other company which is funding 50-50, 50% equity, 50% loan. There could be other company which is having 80% loan, 20% equity. So if we have to compare both the companies, can we compare them on the basis of equity value, equity to revenue multiple? Answer is no.
No.
नो राइट, बिकॉज उसमें से तो हमने लोन डिडक्ट कर दिया ना वैल्यू में से. सो दैट्स व्हाई market multiples are 95% cases looked at EV to revenue. In some cases where debt is of similarity to both the companies, equity to and earnings multiple is also, which we call as PE ratio multiples, are also being considered for companies. But as a practice, EV to revenue multiple are considered. Let's say if we take a scenario, we look at 4 to 5 companies. First is Reliance Industries, second is Adani Enterprises, Third, that I gave you guys homework, Tata Steel. I hope you would have read through the financials of Tata Steel. Then fourth company, maybe we take around. Let's focus on a same bandwidth of company. Let's look at a particular industry. Do you have any industry in mind, guys? I want to note down the EV revenue multiple of different companies in a single industry. Which industry should I choose?
Semiconductor.
Semiconductor. Do
Automobile.
we have listed companies which specifically work in
Probably we can take
semiconductors?
paper because there are a lot of listed companies.
Papers we have, even automotive, IT we have. So let's, for simplicity, take IT sector. Somebody mentioned that because IT sectors multiple are very well available. What would be the core IT companies in India? Infosys is there. What are the other companies? Tata
Yes.
Consultancy, TCS,
Wipro.
what we call. We have Wipro that is also listed. HCL
CTS.
Technologies. Sure. So let's move around these four companies. We want to fetch EV slash revenue multiple of these companies. Let's say I am taking a broad number. I'm not taking actual market numbers. Let's say Infosys EV to revenue multiple is 2.7x. TCS EV to revenue multiple is 3.2x. Wipro's EV to revenue multiple is 2x. And HCL's EV to revenue multiple is 2.5x. Now, my company is also doing the same thing. I want to look at what multiple should I apply to my company. Can I apply only a single multiple to my company? Answer is no, right? I cannot apply. My company, let's say, is the competitor of these companies. It is having the same market capitalization in the market, but my company is unlisted. Same sort of revenue, same sort of profit. What should I do? Should I take multiple of only one company to value my company? Should I take an average? Should I take a mode? Should I take a median? What should I do in that perspective?
Average.
Why we are doing it is generally from a valuation perspective. Two formulas are principally used. First is average, second is median. So how the average formula works is I will press equal, I will write down average, I'll start with number. It is asking me to tone down the numbers. I mention these numbers, number range D27 to D30. I average it out. It is giving me 2.6 number. What does that mean? It is calculating a mean of all these four numbers. That is known as an average function. But if I look at a median of it, what does it give to me? Any suggestions? What would be the median before I press the enter? Theoretically, what is median?
Middlemost.
Median gives middlemost figure to me. If I enter it out, I get again 2.6, which is doing a mediation of two things. One is 2.5, second is 2.7, because these are two middle numbers in this range, right? The lowest number is 2. I should give a ranking of 1 to this. 2.5 is the second lowest number, third lowest number 3.2.7, fourth lowest number is 3.2. How does a median function works? It takes the median number into picture. What is my median number? Is it 2.5? Is it 2.7? What number it is? If I do not have even cells, what would have been my median? If I say, let's say fifth company entered into market, XYZ लिमिटेड ले लेते हैं, उसका मल्टीपल है, for hypothetical perspective, 4x. I gave it a rating of 5. What would be my median in that particular point of case? I have 5 data sets.
2.7
2.7. Why it is so? Because I
is
have
the middle
4
one.
data set. It is middle one, right? But if I have a even data set, I delete this XYZ limited. My median would be average of second and third, because these two are sitting in my middle. My average would be that median. If I apply a median formula here, equal median, the summation out of it, 2.6, which is basically averaging 2.5 and 2.7, right? The average is 2.6. So why these formulas are important, though they are very basics, but from a regular valuation perspective, modeling perspective, we used to follow these. Then might be the third formula would be mode. Somebody who can tell me what does a mode mean? Let's say 5 more companies. Company 5 function f2. Seven, 8. Anybody can tell? Can anybody tell me what is mode?
Uh,
Most
repetitive.
recurring value,
The
like how
most
many
recurring
times
value, right, in the data set. So we have this data set. We have a list of 8 companies. We have their EV revenue multiple. Now we want to see that what is the multiple that is repeating most of the times. I just pressed mode out of it. Press the mode formula function here. Did the ranging to this reference. Entered 2. Now I see that 2 is repeating most of the times. If we see the database, is it 2, 2, 2? Yeah, 2 is appearing 3 times. Is there any other number that is repeating 3 times? Answer is no. So our mode for this data set is 2. We are good with these 3 formulas, right? Average, median, and mode. Anybody who has a question around these, because these are frequently used in doing n number of activities, very basic formula, but somebody has doubt can raise their hand and possibly we can take it. Otherwise, we'll move to next formulas, which are pretty critical. These are very simple. Nobody. Hope everybody's fine with these. Has anybody used average if formula?
Yes.
Let's say if I give a situation to you guys, these are the companies, 8 companies. I give you a situation that I only want an average if the multiple is more than 2.5x. Can we calculate this through an average formula? The answer is no, right? Because average gives me a simple average. It does not give me a right to apply certain logic to its formula. But can we do it through an average if formula? I hope you guys have written down these multiples of these companies, right? In your Excel sheet, if you have a Excel open. If not, please write down. Then I'll ask you a situation and give me a result. I want average multiple of those companies whose multiple is greater than 2x through average if formula. Please give me confirmation once you are done, or maybe you have written these things and want to do average if. Average if runs in a similar way. I type equal average if comes here, then I start pressing things. First criteria that I required to give in average if function is range. What would be the range in this case? Can anybody tell me what would be the range in average formula?
D27 to D34.
27 to D34. So I've selected this range. Second thing, it is asking me about the criteria. What is my criteria? What is my criteria in this case, guys? What did I ask you to do an average? I
Greater
asked
than
Greater
2.
than
greater
2x.
than 2x.
answer is my average should be there if it is greater than 2. So what should I press here? I should press greater than 2 sign, right? But do that sign work in my formula? The answer is no.
No.
If I am writing a number, it is a common thing in Excel, guys. Just remember it for every time you run any Excel formula. If you are inputting any value as a criteria, you have to denote it within inverted commas, right? So I inserted it in inverted comma. If I didn't have done it, my formula wouldn't have worked. So my criteria is it would average only if the multiple is greater than 2. Then third point is average range. Which range do I want to do an average? It is the same range, right? Which I am looking to do an average. So I'll select this range again. I'll close the bracket. I'll press enter. It is giving me average 2.88. So if I have to look at is my formula functioning properly, what can I do? Let's do one thing. Let's do a simple average. Average first number which is greater than 2 is 2.7, comma second number greater than 2 is 3.22, third number greater than 2, 2.5, fourth number is 3, fifth number is also 3. If I average these numbers, my answer should be same as average if formula. But if I would have 500 companies, would I be able to do normal average function in that case? The answer is no, because it would be super heavy to select each company. Through this criteria, which is greater than 2, we have done an average on a single go, right? So I hope you also got a same answer 2.88 while running average if formula. Please confirm.
Yes.
Only one person has done it. Anybody else? किसी और ने नहीं किया?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Murli. Thumbs up would also work. Just give me a thumbs up. Good to see. No doubts now about average if. This is also very frequently used. Like average if, there are other formulas that we will see. Median function through statistical means we are running it from very long time. Mode function we are running from very long time in mathematics also. Statistical tools we already know. In last class we discussed about standard deviation. Can anybody let me know how a standard deviation works? We discussed how the standard deviation is calculated. Can anybody let me know what is the standard deviation? Those who are math student, I think most of us have done 10th class from mathematics. So standard deviation was part of it. If anybody can just dictate it out, how does it work?
How much does the data set deviate from the mean of that
Yeah,
group?
absolutely correct. Theoretically, what does a standard deviation mean? It check हमारा जो डेटा सेट है, डेटा सेट की जो वैल्यूज है, हाउ दे डिफर फ्रॉम द मीन वैल्यू मीनिंग एवरेज वैल्यू. Why it is relevant here in investment banking as a career, in financial modeling, why standard deviation is relevant? I want to check my data set, how much percentage it differs from mean. If the standard deviation is super high, would it raise a question that my data set could be wrong because it is deviating from mean by a larger extent? Might be I have not selected good comparable companies in my data set, right? Or no?
Yes.
The answer is yes. So standard deviation help us making many decisions. As a formula, if I put out, there are two standard deviations that we are going to discuss in today's class. First standard deviation is stdv.p. Second standard deviation is stdv.s. stdv.s. Both these formulas are frequently used during standard deviation calculation. When is stdv.p used? Standard deviation.p is used to look at the standard deviation for entire population. But stdv is S is used to calculate standard deviation only for a sample. Now we have how many companies? We have 8 companies. What should I use? Should I use standard deviation.s or standard deviation.p? I have selected 8 companies that are comparable to my company. I am looking at their valuation multiple. Now I want to check the standard deviation of the multiple from their mean. What should I do? Should I use a sample standard deviation formula or a population formula? Is this the entire population of companies that exist in IT market?
No.
Oh,
The
no.
answer is no, right? It is not the entire population. We have only selected a sample of companies that might be comparable to our company. Considering that, we are required to apply a standard deviation dot S formula. How we can apply standard deviation dot S? Just I will keep this data range as this. I'll press enter. It is giving me that my mean multiple is deviating by the data set by 0.5014. So mean देख लेते हैं एक बार इसका कितना है. Let's look at its average. Average is 2.55. My deviation is 0.5. This means that my average data set is deviating from my mean multiple by 0.50. So what I can say is either my multiple could be higher by 0.501 from 2.55, or it could be lower by 0.501 from 2.55, but it cannot deviate by much more amount than it, right? This is my interpretation out of it, isn't it? The answer is yes, right? At the same
Yes.
point of time, if we have taken entire set of population in the world or in the particular industry, then we should not apply a standard deviation dot s sample. It should be standard deviation dot p. If I select this range out, it is giving me 0.4690 if I have selected that. Now we see that standard deviation in the dot s formula is higher than standard deviation in dot p formula. Why is it so? Anybody who has idea about why standard deviation of sample is higher than standard deviation of a portfolio formula? किसी ने किया ये past में use? Nobody has used. Should I take this
Yes, sir,
question
I
up?
have used.
Faisal, you're speaking. Who was speaking? Can you raise your hand?
Yes, sir, I have used.
Yeah, Faisal. So what is the difference between these two formulas? Why the result is different between standard deviation dot p and standard deviation dot s?
So basically, the P is used for a larger population. Like if we are averaging out a very large, there are 1,000 uh, in the list, and then we should use the population one. And if that is 7 to 8 things we need to average out, then we can use the S because of the average out that it is not accurate when it comes to S.
Correct. So you're slightly correct, but if we look at the mathematical function of these two formulas, let's look at standard deviation dot p. Most of us who have taken mathematics would have applied this formula, which is x1, which is our data samples वैल्यू माइनस मीन वैल्यू, उसका हम स्क्वायर करते हैं, सारे डेटा सेट की वैल्यू स्क्वायर करते हैं, देन वी डिवाइडेड इट बाय द नंबर ऑफ डेटा सेट्स दैट वी हैव 1/n, एंड उसका हम स्क्वायर रूट करते हैं, राइट? That this formula is used when we have entire population data set. However, when we are using only the sample data set, then we are doing the same thing, which is x1 minus x bar, which is mean, uska square, usko humne sum kiya, but we are dividing it by n minus 1. In the previous equation, we were dividing it by n. In this equation, we are dividing it by n minus 1. Why n minus 1 division is giving me a higher number? Only difference is in that population data set we were not subtracting -1 from the denominator. Here we are subtracting, but why is it so? Why do we need to subtract it? The answer is हमारा जो standard deviation of sample आया है, that should be higher, right? Because denominator is lower in my case. In this case, which is n minus 1, denominator is lower. Since the denominator is lower, the value should be higher, right? Calculated value should be higher if my denominator is lower. But in this case, what I am using as a denominator, it is n, not n minus 1. ये तो मेरा सोल्व हो गया कि मेरा डिफरेंस क्यों आ रहा है, बिकॉज पोर्टफोलियो में मैं n ले रहा हूँ, स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन ऑफ सैंपल में मैं n-1 ले रहा हूँ, बट मैं ऐसा क्यों कर रहा हूँ? व्हाई आई एम सब्सट्रैक्टिंग -1 फ्रॉम n while doing a sample standard deviation? What Faisal slightly said is, when we are doing a standard deviation for a particular sample, we are having biasness in picture, right? Because जो हमने sample select किया है वो कम भी हो सकता है, वो ज्यादा भी हो सकता है. उस biasness को manage करने के लिए हम क्या कर रहे हैं? हम denominator को थोड़ा कम कर रहे हैं ताकि हमारा standard deviation ज्यादा आ जाए. If our standard deviation is higher, we would still be in the range of taking कि हमारा mean से data set की value कितनी ऊपर या नीचे हो सकती है, right? So the only perspective of dividing -1 that was done by Bessel subtracted -1 from the denominator because of that perspective, that if you are selecting only a sample, it could be different. That's why he made that formula of subtracting -1. Hope these two formulas are clear to everybody. What does a standard deviation dot p do and what does s do? How to calculate these? Which situation should we use which formula? Everybody's clear? Give me a thumbs up. Not clear? Raise your hand. We can discuss around. Good number of hands. Then let's move to the next formula. That is going to be a minimum function. If I want to calculate what is the minimum EV to revenue multiple in this cell range? What I can do? I can use a min formula. How min formula works is I press equal min numbers. इसमें भी मैं cell range देता हूँ. I press it out, close the bracket, press enter. It is giving me 2. What it is showing is my lowest multiple in this data set is 2. I hope it is clear to everybody. Everybody is following my steps and applying the formula in their Excel sheet. Minimum formula in this data set is giving me answer 2, which is the lowest value in this data set. But if I want to look at the max value, what is the maximum multiple that is there in this data set? I will again press max formula. Same thing, I will select this range, close the bracket, press enter. It is giving me 3.2, which means that TCS multiple, which is 3.2, is higher than any multiple that is there in my data set. Hope these two formulas are also clear. Very simple: minimum, maximum, minimum value, maximum value. But I want to give you guys a challenge. I want you to let me know what is the third largest multiple in my data set. Which formula should I use? Can anybody suggest that? मैक्सिमम का हमने देख लिया. मुझे मैक्सिमम मल्टीपल चाहिए तो मैंने मैक्स फॉर्मूला लगाया. इन द डेटा सेट आई गोट टू नो दैट व्हाट इज द मैक्सिमम मल्टीपल by using max formula, but I want to know what is this third largest multiple in my data set. Through which formula can I get it out?
Large formula and
Absolutely correct.
yes.
Absolutely. Thanks, Faisal. It would be large formula. So we will try to inculcate large formula pressing equal large. Large में सबसे पहले ये array मांग रहा है हमसे. I'll select the array. This is our array. Then it is asking us about the k. K meaning which position do you want in this data set? What we wanted is third position, right? Third largest multiple. I pressed enter. Third largest multiple is 3. Is it 3? Let's check. First largest is 3.2. Second largest is 3. Third largest is also 3. So the answer is right. Our third largest multiple in the data set is 3. We got it through large function, which is array into k. K meaning which position do you want in the data set? We want third largest position. Now at the same point of time, I want you guys to apply another function. If I want third smallest value, can anybody apply small function and let me know what is the third smallest value in this data set? I am waiting for you. Please apply small function and let me know what is third lowest value using small function.
2.
2.
2 is star. 2.
It is 2 for everybody.
Yes.
Yes,
Answer is
sir.
yes.
It's
Let
2.
us, thank you. Let us apply small function small. It is asking us array. Array हमने select कर लिया. Then I select k, which is 3. Bracket close, enter. It is giving us 2. This means if I start from very low, 2 is appearing 3 times. So 2 is going to be the lowest value at third point also, second point also, first point also in my data set. I hope we are done with these 4 formulas, very basic around. There should not be a issue around it till now. अब हम थोड़ा typical formulas पे move करने वाले हैं. Anybody has issues, doubt till now can raise the hand. Otherwise, we'll move to more standard formulas. Yeah, Harish, you have a doubt? Please go ahead.
Can you once again explain average if?
Average if, absolutely. Harish, you have this data set with you. Infosys Steel Company 8 EV
Yes,
revenue
yes.
multiple. Have you noted this down?
Yes.
Yeah. So I give you a scenario that I want those cells average which are more than 2.5. I only want average of those cells which are more than 2.5. I don't want average of those cells which are either 2.5 or lower than 2.5. So what I can do is I am giving a logical function to average. If I am giving a logical function to average, normal average function will not work. What I am doing is I am pressing average if formula. Average if it is asking me firstly the range जिसका average करना है हमें. The range is D27 to D34. Second, it is asking me the criteria. What is my logic that I want to apply? My logic is I would average only those cells which are greater than 2.5. So I pressed here greater than 2.5. Now I have to take a average range of range. Which should I do the average? The average range is also same in my case. I completed it. But when I press enter in this formula won't work. Why it won't work? The answer is because Excel do not take logics as a number which are not in inverted brackets. So we have to convert this 2.5 greater than in inverted brackets. If I do that, my average function would work. I press enter. Average of those cells which are greater than 2.5 is 2.975. If I have to check that, let's select those cells which are greater than 2.5. It is 3.2, 2.7. These two cells are more than, their average is 2.1 second. Any other cell which is more than 2.5, 3 also is more than, this 3 is also more than. These fours average is 2.975. That's how this average function is working. So we can apply this average function in maybe 100 set of companies, 1000 set of companies also at the same point of time. Is it clear now? I hope so.
Yes, Abhishek.
Yeah, thanks to hear that. Good to go. Let's move ahead. Hope my screen is still visible. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's move to the mathematical functions. We discussed about certain statistical functions. Some functions सबको लगाना आता होगा. I don't think there would be any person who has worked on Excel and not used some function. So we will skip this function for now. But second function that we are going to discuss is sum if function. Let's say I told you guys that मैं इसका सेक्टर और मेंशन कर देता हूँ. सेक्टर इन्फोसिस इज अ आईटी कंपनी. TCS, विप्रो, HCL और आईटी कंपनीज. 5th 6th 7th 8th पे मैं डाल देता हूँ आपके लिए ऑटोमोबाइल कंपनीज. लेट्स गो फॉर टाटा मोटर्स. Which is another automotive company in India?
Mahindra.
Mahindra, Bajaj Auto, Mahindra. 5th 8th नंबर पे डाल देता हूँ. एनी अदर कंपनी इन अदर सेक्टर. एडटेक में डाल देते हैं लेट्स से फिजिक्स वाला. These are IT companies. These are automotive. These are automotive. Last one is EdTech company. Now I ask you guys that I want to, and this is, let's say, their sales rather than EV revenue multiple. Infosys sale is, let's assume 2.7 billion. This is USD billion. Just hypothetical number assume कर लेते हैं. These are USD billion sales number. I ask you guys that I want sum of sales of IT companies. Can we do it through a single sum formula?
No.
Answer is yes, right? मैं ऊपर वाले 4 सिलेक्ट कर देता हूँ, हो जाएगा सम. 10.4 मिल जाएगा. बट आई से दैट द डेटा सेट इज सो स्कैटर्ड कि आईटी कंपनीज जो है ना वो बीच बीच में आ रही है. मैं यहाँ पे एक रो इंसर्ट करता हूँ. Alt HIR. I put this TCS in between this. एडटेक को इसके बीच में डाल देते हैं. अब मुझे सम करने के लिए थोड़ी मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, राइट? मुझे आईटी कंपनीज एक एक करके सिलेक्ट करनी पड़ेगी. देन आई शुड प्रेस सम फॉर्मूला. Is there any other option that I can do to sum it
Sum if.
up?
Sum if.
The answer is sum if, or I can also do a pivot filter, right? I can do a filter. I can select IT companies in my filter. Then I can look at what cells are for IT. The sum is 10.4. But doing this is also a task, right? Because उसमें भी मुझे filter करना पड़ेगा. Then filter करके individual cell select करना पड़ेगा. But once I use sum if function, my life is going to be easy. In sum if function, what I am saying is I have to sum this range. What is my criteria? First is range. First is criteria range. I select this range. What is my criteria? I need summation of IT companies, right?
Mhm.
So
We'll
I
select
select
one IT
I
or
select here IT. Type IT. But would typing IT work? I mentioned that alphanumeric characters are not read by Excel unless until we convert it in inverted commas. So we have two options. Either we give a link of IT to this, either I select IT here as E30, or I press inverted commas IT, then close that inverted commas. Then what is the third criteria that question is asking me? It is asking a sum range. My sum range is this. So now I get summation of revenue of those companies which are into IT. It is 10.4. If we add these four, what we saw in past is it is 10.4. So can anybody do same thing for me for automotive companies by using sum if function? And let me know what is revenue for automotive companies in this data set using sum if function.
The sum will
Eh,
be 7.
Sum will be 7. Anybody else who has tried it?
Minus
Are you
7.
following the same thing?
7.
Absolutely right. So if I edit IT की जगह हम डाल देते हैं automotive, press enter, it is giving me 7 number. अगर मैं इनको plus करूं तो भी ये 7 आएगा. So once we have 14,000 cells, we won't be able to sum up एक एक करके. So we have to apply a formula. Sum if formula would help us analyzing our data set in multiple perspectives, in making a dashboard, in understanding what data set is giving me as a value. So that's how sum if formula is working. Let's look at another formula in our discussion. It is sum ifs formula. Now let us say I have two arguments. पहले तो मैंने आपको बोला कि first argument is IT companies. Second argument is let's say अगर मैं credit rating ले लेता हूँ इन companies की hypothetical credit rating. Infosys is rated let's say A, Physics wala is rated B, Wipro is rated C, HCL is rated A. We copy it out, and Mahindra is rated C. Hypothetically, now I give you a situation that I want sales of those companies which are into IT sector and having a rating of A. How can I do it? Would SUMIF function be giving me the desired result? We saw in SUMIF function only one criteria can be placed, right? Criteria and criteria range is only one. Would SUMIF function work in this scenario? Answer is no, right? Because I can only put one criteria in SUMIF function. So I will amend the formula. I will now use SUMIFs function rather than SUMIF function. In SUMIFs function, multiple criteria can be given. My criteria is sector would be IT sector. First is it is asking me is a sum range. We will select sum range as 2.7 to 3. Second is criteria range 1. Criteria range 1 is IT to EdTech to automotive. Criteria 1 is IT sector, comma. Criteria range 2 is credit rating. What is our criteria 2? Which rating are we looking at?
A.
A rating, right? So we are given two criteria in this formula. First criteria is around sector that we are selecting. Credit rating is the second criteria. Once we close the bracket, we will get our desired result that if the sector is IT, credit rating is A, then the sum of revenue sales is 8.4. Let's check it out. Infosys is A rated IT company. Yes, we should select it. ITC, no. ITA, yes, we should select it. ITA, yes, we should select it. The sum is 8.4, which we are getting through formula also, right? We have given two criteria here. The criteria could be 100 also, because sum ifs, there is no limit to give a criteria. I can give criteria 3, 4, 5, 6, 100 criteria also to this. Now I want you guys to perform one function for me. You guys calculate automotive rating, automotive sales if they are rated A, and let me know what is the amount that you're getting through sum ifs formula.
Four.
4.
Is it 4 for everyone? I should replace just IT with automotive. Same formula I'm using. Answer is 4. Why it is for automotive A-rated company, only two companies. If I combine their sales, answer is 4. So through this sum-ifs formula, we are able to utilize more than one criteria in our formula and get our desired result, which we are looking. So through this data analysis set of functions we can use. Now there is a count function. I want you guys to count what sort of data set I have. Which function should I use? Count function, right? Let's say I count how many number of companies I have in my data set. Infosys to Mahindra. There are how many companies? Function F2. Let's put it out here. Why count function? Text, it is not counting. We have to use count text. Let's count around values. There are 8 companies, right, in my data set, which is used by a count function. But if I have used text function here, it would have also used text to utilize. Right now, let's make it simple. We are counting how many data sets we have. It is 8 data set. But let's say if I increase my data set के बीच में मैं 2 rows और insert कर देता हूँ. यहाँ पे मैं 2 companies का नाम और डाल देता हूँ. Let's say Reliance and Adani Enterprises. Now I want to do count of function through this data sets. Would this data set return me 8 values, or would it now be 10 values, 8 plus 2?
8 only.
Only.
Why would it be 8?
There
Because
is
these
no
two cells are blank.
Value
Excel
is
will
not
not
updated.
count these cells because they are blank. However, if I put Reliance as 0 revenue, Adani as 0 revenue, now Excel will count it. Let's test it out. Count function, value, range, enter. Now they are 10. However, अगर मैं 0 को delete कर देता हूँ, now it is 8. So Excel through count function do not count those cells which are blank. Pretty simple. Let's move to next function, countif function. Now I ask you guys, let's delete these two companies because you don't have these in your data set. I want count of companies whose revenue are greater than 2 million. How can I do it? Through countif function. Let's look this. I need to count number of those companies whose revenue is more than 2. I have pressed countif function similar to what sumif function was. First, it is asking me about the data range. My data range is this. Second, it is asking me is about the criteria. My criteria is greater than 2, right? Inverted commas, enter. There are 5 companies whose revenue is more than 2. This is first, this is second, this is third, this is fourth, this is fifth. We have 5 companies. Now I want you guys to perform one function for me. Those companies count whose revenue is less than 2.7. Can you perform this for me?
Four.
4.
Is it 4? Everybody has done this?
Yes.
Yeah. So what we need to do in this case is I need less than 2.7. The answer is 4. Good to go. We are done with countif function also. At same point of time, if I want you guys to run 2 criterias, then what should we use? Like we use sum if, then sum ifs for 2 criteria. Countif would also work with count ifs. Our 2 criteria at that point would be, let's say I want to sum revenue of those count revenue of those companies whose revenue is more than 2.5. At the same point of time they are rated A. What should I do? I press countifs function, which can help me give more than one criteria to my data set. My first criteria range 1 is this. My first criteria is revenue should be more than 2.5, greater than 2.5. What is my second criteria? Range. This is my second criteria range. Now my criteria 2 is which rating? A rating, right? I close my brackets. There are only two companies whose revenue is more than 2.5 USD billion, which are A credit rated. So through COUNTIF's function, I got to know that. Now I want you guys to do one thing for me, calculate count of companies whose credit rating is A. At the same point of time, they are into edtech sector. Can you do it for me? We need count of companies whose credit rating is A. EdTech is only one, so let's leave it. आप automotive का count करो. A rated automotive companies count.
Sir, can you repeat the count ifs formula once again?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we did for sum ifs, count ifs function help us give more than one criteria. First thing that it asks for is criteria range 1. Since our first criteria is we want those companies whose sales is more than 2.5. So I have selected sales as a range. What I have given as a criteria is greater than 2.5. Secondly, I have selected F27 to F34, which is our second criteria where we are looking for rating. Our rating requirement is A, which is criteria range 2 and criteria 2. Now we have only two criteria. We have closed the cell out and pressed enter, and we got to know that there are two companies in COUNTIFs. Through similar perspective, what I'm asking is calculate count of those companies whose credit rating is A and sector is automotive in our data set. What count is there?
2.
Sir, 2.
It is 2 for everyone? No.
Yes, sir.
How we can do that? I will press COUNTIFs function. COUNTIFs में my first criteria range 1 is sector. I need which sector? I need automotive sector. Automotive. What is my criteria range 2? A to C. What is the rating that I am looking at? A rating. I press close. Answer is 2, right? So that's how we can use COUNTIFs function to look at what data set calculates. Now square root is very simple. If I'm not going to discuss it out, if you have 25 rupees, you want to square root it, just press square root function, give it a number, bracket close, it will give you a square root of that number, which is 5. Very simple. Let's move ahead. Now we have a ceiling and floor function also. Why are
Sir,
we
sorry
required?
to disturb, but whenever I'm applying count if formula, I'm getting answer as 0. But what is going wrong? I don't know.
Count ifs or count if?
Count ifs.
Are you using inverted commas into your
Yeah,
practice?
yeah, I've used it.
Can you please share your screen? Your voice is a bit breaking. I cannot hear you out.
Okay, I can share that.
It would be possible by looking at
Yeah.
the mistake you are doing.
Like, can you see? I have shared it.
Not visible yet.
Started sharing here. Sorry. Can you see now?
Is still not visible. Can anybody see his screen? I think it is not visible to anybody. Can someone confirm if screen is visible from his end?
No, sir.
Not
No.
visible.
No, sir.
It is not visible, but the idea is that just look through me, through my function. What we have done is in COUNTIFs, first it is asking is criteria range 1. Our criteria range 1 is sales. In this automotive case, our criteria range is sector. We have used this as a range. Secondly, we have given criteria in inverted columns as automotive. Second thing we are looking at is a rating range, which is F27 to F34, and we have given the criteria as A in inverted columns. So if you have an incorrect spelling of automotive or maybe credit rating, or you have not used inverted commas, you can face a error out of it. But if that is not the case, then the value should be 2, right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
So
I'll figure it out. Okay.
you can just check what issue you are facing. But let's move ahead, guys. There are two functions also that are frequently used. First is a ceiling function. Second is a floor function. What does a ceiling and floor function do? Let's look at it through this PDF only. Let's say I have a number 22.25. I want to look at if I seal my data point to the nearest 0.1, what would be my result? What 0.1 is the nearest to 0.2? It is 0.3, right? 0.25 would turn out to be 222.3 if I apply a ceiling function, because it is looking at the higher value which is closer to 0.1 multiple, which is 22.3. I hope ceiling is fine with you. Very simple formula. Please give me a confirmation so that we can move ahead.
Round off.
Else I can show you also ceiling floor.
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
What is the use of the ceiling function?
Ceiling function, let's say you have a multiple, right? What is our average multiple? Let's say you are using average multiple in your data set equal average 2.55. Your data set's average is 2.55. But as a investment banker, what you used to do on a usual basis, अगर हम इसको 3 डेसिमल्स में डाल देते हैं 2.625 3.222, जो हम आइडियली मल्टीपल लेते हैं while valuing our company, they are generally in 2 decimal points, right? हम 2 decimal points से ज्यादा नहीं लेते, तो either we have an option to limit it to 2.54 or option to go to 2.55. Let's say I select an option that I want a higher multiple rather than a lower multiple. What I do is I use a ceiling function to my average. Ceiling, yeah. I press number, then I said that I want a nearest multiple which is sealed of 0.01. Now my answer would be 2.55. So now I can use this multiple during my calculation rather than using the pure play whole decimals which are given by average function. So this is more neat to look at, right? 2.55.
Okay. But
Now
can
I
we
want,
use round up or round function?
we can see round also, absolutely. We can see round up, round down, normal round function also. Ceiling is a alternative of these functions. Let's say I want floor now. What I said is 2.54335 को मुझे 0.01 से ही फ्लोर करना है. फ्लोर मीनिंग लोअर वैल्यू चाहिए rather than higher value. I need lower value. Now it gives me a number which is 2.54. So through that I can see floor also. So Ritika, that depends on case to case. What do you want to look at? Do you want ceiling? Do you want floor? These are possible through round functions also. Even sum ifs work can be done through other functions as well, but still there is a existence of sum if function. Whatsoever function best suits our requirement, which is simple in our case, we used to use that, right?
Okay.
Similarly, there's a floor function. We discussed it out. It works for negative functions as well. Now we have integer. Can anybody tell me what is an integer function mean? Let's hear it out from the class. If I apply int, which is an integer function, what result would it give to me?
It will
What does the
change the
integer mean?
decimals into the integer form
Yeah,
if it's
absolutely
in a
right.
floating form.
Absolutely correct. So what does an integer function actually do is it converts decimal number into a whole number. Let's say if I have a decimal of 2.56, I want a wholesome function. I press integer number, enter. It is giving me a 2 number, right? Which is an integer lower to my value, right? So in an integer, I got to know that what would be the wholesome value which is lower than my number. Very simple, and moving ahead we won't discuss it in much detail. Round function, most of you would be knowing how to round. Let's say I have what Ritika was saying, we can use round function also. Now I have two decimal places, 25.56. I want to round my number. I press round function. I press this. I want to round it to one decimal. What should I press here in number digits? 1, right? Because we need one decimal. I close the bracket, press enter. Round function is giving me 25.6. Would it give me 25.6 when I have 25.4, let's say 36 as a value? Would it give me 25.4 or 25.3?
25.4.
And if I convert this situation, if I press 25.34, what would it give me? 25.3. Because 0.05 and above would be counted as 0.6. However, lower than that would be counted as a lower number. So through round functions, we can make a use out of it. Again, a simple formula. Now comes a formula which is used in very complex models, which is known as a random function, which is denoted as RAND. Let's press random RAND. I want any random number from my data output to be given. What function should I use? It should be random function. Why it is known as random function? I press F2 and enter. Each time it will give me different value, but the value would be ranging between 0 to 1 each time, right? I'm pressing F2, pressing enter, my values are changing. Why it is changing? Because I have used random function which is giving me a random value. Values are between 0 to 1. The question should be, why do we need a random function during our modeling? Random function is used for complex valuation models where we have seen standard deviation function, right? Our standard deviation, let's say, could be 0.55 that we seen in multiple. Would that standard deviation would always be 0.55? Can it be lower than it? The answer is yes, right? It could be lower than it also. No. If I have said to you that my database has a standard deviation of 0.55, does that mean that every data set point has a deviation of 0.55 from mean? The
No,
answer is
no, it
no.
can
No,
change.
right? It can change, but it would be lower, right, than 0.55. So however random function helps in that case is, let's multiply 0.55 by 0.54. Every time I press enter, my standard deviation for my security would change. Every time I press enter, random function is giving me a different standard deviation. So through random function, I can run statistical measures. Right now, they are not used in pure play simple models, but if we are preparing a complex valuation model, they are going to be used. So just we should know that how a random function works here around, so that we can calculate a random standard deviation, but that standard deviation is lower than the pure play broad standard deviation that we have, right? Then move to next functions. Our last function for the day is going to be PMT function. Any doubt till now? We are going to take that question. Otherwise, we will move to PMT function, which is widely used while calculating EMIs in loans, interest rates, etc., etc. Any doubt? Please raise your hand. I will ask your name, and you can go ahead with your doubt. Or if no doubt, please also give me a thumbs up. I didn't have doubt. Sumit is also fine. So Murli, good to hear that. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता यार, and everybody should not be Excel expert. I know 90% of you would be knowing basic formulas, but there would be a 10% population which do not use Excel, which use other tools. So no doubts till now.
Yeah,
We have a hand. Yeah, Samir, please go ahead.
yeah, I have doubt on standard deviation. So
Yes,
calculate
please.
like previous standard deviation and you compare with like some numbers. So like that portion I have doubt.
Yeah,
So
what is your doubt? Please
median,
that.
standard deviation and you compare with mean median, that portion.
Yes. So what's your doubt? You didn't understand that part of time, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That part I.
That okay. Let's look at the data set again. Let me know if my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I am calculating standard deviation of sample, right? I am using this formula stdv.s. I am using these numbers in bracket. I close out this bracket. Now I got to know that standard deviation of current data set is 0.50. What does that mean? इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि जो मेरे डेटा सेट का एवरेज है उससे मेरा डेटा सेट 0.50 तक डेविएट कर सकता है. इट कुड बी
Like
डेविएटिंग.
probability, like we can take like this 0.5% हो सकता है या फिर नहीं हो सकता है, ऐसा probability type.
या तो ऊपर हो सकता है या नीचे हो सकता है.
Yeah,
मतलब माई मल्टीपल कुड बी 0.50 more than mean multiple. It could be lower than 0.50 from mean. Its meaning is this. हायर भी
Yeah.
हो सकता है, लोअर भी हो सकता है. Why it is higher or lower? Because जो हमने फॉर्मूला बनाया था, if you look at mathematical formula, it uses x minus x bar which is mean का whole square raised to the power 2. जब
Yeah.
हमने इसको रेस टू दी पावर 2 कर दिया, इसका मतलब ये पॉजिटिव वैल्यूज को भी स्क्वायर कर रहा है और नेगेटिव वैल्यूज को भी स्क्वायर कर रहा है. वंस वी डू अ स्क्वायर ऑफ नेगेटिव वैल्यू, इट टर्न्स पॉजिटिव, राइट?
Yeah.
So if we have all the values which are positive, which means that हमने अपने स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन में नेगेटिव वैल्यूज को भी ले लिया, पॉजिटिव वैल्यूज को भी ले लिया एज अ पॉजिटिव, विच मींस मीन से मैं या तो पॉजिटिव 0.50 हो सकता हूँ या फिर नेगेटिव 0.50 हो सकता हूँ.
Yeah. Yeah.
इसका ये मतलब है, राइट? मेक सेंस? गुड टू गो?
Yeah. Yes.
या,
Yeah.
थैंक्स फॉर आस्किंग दिस क्वेश्चन. आई होप एवरीबडी इज क्लियर अबाउट स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन. अभी तक हमने जो भी फॉर्मूला सीखे हैं सारे के सारे आर फ्रिक्वेंटली यूज्ड. Count, some are very basic functions. Standard deviation is what if you pursue IB as a career, valuation as a career, or risk management, FRM as a career, etc., etc. Standard deviation is very common formula that you guys would use. So you should be aware that what is the difference between standard deviation .p and standard deviation .s. I hope everybody is fine with it. Now let's move to PMT function. Equal PMT. We have 4-5 things into picture. Let's discuss it theoretically first, then we will move to a practical equation in PMT. PMT function uses several characteristics which are, first is rate. Let's say मैं आपको ना एक सिचुएशन देता हूँ, हम एक प्रैक्टिकल सिनेरियो ही लेके चलते हैं. I ask you guys that I am going to take a loan. That loan's interest rate is going to be 10%. My loan repayment will happen annually and tenure is 10 years. 10 साल में एनुअल रिपेमेंट होगी. माई इंटरेस्ट रेट इज 10%. माई प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट फॉर विच आई हैव टेकन अ लोन एट डे 1 is 100 crores. Now I want to calculate what EMI should I pay. Which formula should I pay? Use EMI. क्या होता है? EMI is equated monthly installments, which mean that every year I am going to pay the same amount to bank. That amount would be two things. One is principal amount, second is interest amount. Now I want to calculate it out. How can I calculate? I can calculate it using PMT function. Let's calculate how the PMT function works. I have rate in place, right? PMT meaning payment. Payment is basically EMI. First is rate. I have 10% as rate. Comma N per. N per provides me in what number of installments I need to make a payment. What number of installments do we have in our current scenario?
60.
No, we said that payment would be
annual
annual.
payment in 10 years.
Yeah. It is 10, right? N per should be 10 because we have 10 annual installments to be paid. Comma PV represents present value. What is present value of our loan? What is the principal amount of our loan? It is 100 crores, right?
Yeah.
I have 3 inputs. It is asking for 2 more inputs from me, but they are only optional. I will discuss it in later part, but let's work on these 3 inputs only. If I use these 3 inputs, can I get my EMI through this function? I press enter. Answer is yes. If I have a loan of 100 crores, I have to make a payment of 16.27 crore each year so that my loan is repaid at the end of 10 year. अगर मैं आपको एक लोन पेमेंट शेड्यूल बना के दिखाऊं तो उसमें भी क्या ये चीज ट्रू होनी चाहिए? आंसर इज यस. हम एक लोन पेमेंट शेड्यूल बना लेते हैं. सिंपल शेड्यूल, सिंपल एक्सेल, नथिंग टू do it in detail. We should have 10 years. पहले हम रखते हैं ओपनिंग बैलेंस. सेकंड हम डालते हैं साल का इंटरेस्ट. थर्ड हम डालते हैं EMI पेमेंट. फोर्थ हम डालते हैं क्लोजिंग बैलेंस विच इज CB. एट द ओपनिंग year 1, what's our opening balance? 100 crores, right? No. 100 crores. What is our interest for first year? Would it be 100 into 10%? Answer is yes, 100 into 10%. What is our EMI payment? We have calculated an EMI payment of 16.27. what would be our closing balance? Can anybody tell me that? What is the closing balance? If anybody is speaking, your voice is breaking. Please be on mute. We can't hear you. Whosoever is speaking. Please be on mute, guys. Everyone. Now, can anybody tell me what would be my closing balance in this case? What should I sum up to get it to closing balance?
100 minus EMI payment.
100 plus 10 minus EMI payment, right?
Okay.
Because interest is also added, right, to my amount. So 100
Yes.
plus 10 is 110 minus EMI payment. Since my EMI payment is already in minus, so I will do a plus 16.27. My closing balance would be 93.73. So what would be the second year opening balance? It would be first year closing balance, which is 93.73. Now I want to calculate interest. Can I drag this formula as it is to my interest? Answer is no, because हमें क्या चाहिए 10% into 93.73, but when I'm dragging it out, it is giving me incorrect calculation of 93.73 into 10 years. So what should I do in this case? We have discussed in yesterday's class.
Dollar sign.
Dollar sign, right? Which cell should I dollar sign? Which cell should I freeze? Should it be D81 or D73?
D73.
D73, very simple. Dollar. Now I will drag it, copy paste. Now it is giving me interest of 9.37. अब मेरी EMI पेमेंट कितनी आएगी? क्या मैं इसको ड्रैग कर दूं? बिकॉज हर साल सेम EMI पेमेंट आएगी, इसको भी मुझे फ्रीज करना पड़ेगा, राइट? फंक्शन F4 और डॉलर साइन वी कैन यूज. Now I can drag it. Closing balance is fine. I can drag it out. अब मैं second row को 10th row तक drag करता हूँ. Now at the end of 10 year, if you see my closing balance is 0, which mean that our function is working perfect. If we are paying 16.27 crores each year, our closing balance at the end of 10th year after paying the last EMI payment of 16.27 will be 0. So rather than doing this complex calculation, we can simply apply a single formula, which is PMT, right? Here. पेमेंट का फॉर्मूला लगाते हैं, काम खत्म. बट लेट्स से मैं इस सिचुएशन को थोड़ा अलग कर देता हूं. मैं कहता हूं कि मेरे पास ईएमआई पेमेंट है, मुझे कितनी ईएमआई पेमेंट करनी है, मेरे पास प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट है, मेरे पास इंटरेस्ट रेट है, बट मेरे पास पीरियड नहीं है कि एनुअल पीरियड जिसमें मुझे पेमेंट करनी है. तो व्हाट शुड आई डू इन दिस केस? I need to apply N per formula. There is a N per formula which is very same than PMT formula, where function starts with this. So can anybody do a N per formula for me and tell me what is the amount of tenure that is going to be? I am slightly deviating my scenario. Principal payment को मैं कर रहा हूँ 200 करोड़. Payment of installment would still be 16.27 negative. Rate is 10%. Can anybody run N per formula for me and let me know which number of annual years would be there to make the loan repayment?
10.
It won't be 10 ना, because मैंने principal change किया अभी 200
Oh,
करोड़ किया.
sorry.
Yeah, you are not applying the assumption. So please apply the exact assumptions. 200 crores as principal, which is known as PV, 10% interest rate, EMI of 16.274539 जो भी है. Apply N per formula and let me know with how many years I would be able to repay my loan if I take a EMI of 16.27. Simple formula. Can anybody let me know first? Nobody's done. No Excel expert in our class. Expert भी नहीं, इसमें तो basic formula लगाना है हमें. Everybody's doing
I
this, right?
tried, but it's giving me a number error.
It is giving you a number error. Why is it so? Let's look at this as a rate. PMT is this, comma, PV is this, एंटर एन पर नंबर एरर. सो या इसमें एग्जैक्ट नंबर नहीं लिया हमने, हम थोड़ा सिचुएशन रिवर्स करते हैं. इफ इट हैज बीन अ एग्जैक्ट नंबर, लेट्स से जो मेरी पेमेंट आ रही थी वही होती तो ये ठीक आता. अगर हम इसको 100 ही लेंगे देन इट वुड बी फाइन 10 years बिकॉज माई पेमेंट इज एनुअल. दिस मीन्स नंबर एरर क्या दिखाता है? नंबर एरर इज प्रेजेंटिंग दैट हमने कुछ ना कुछ एजम्पशन गलत लिया है. हमारे
PMT
200 करोड़ के केस में नंबर एजम्पशन ऑफ पीएमटी इज इनकरेक्ट, राइट? which
32.55.
which is not equated according to 10 years. अगर हमें इसको 10 years के इक्वेट करना पड़ेगा तब हमारा आंसर ठीक आएगा. But well tried. This should give a number error which represents that our payment is wrong. EMI payment is wrong. We need to correct it out. एक बार हम इसको करेक्ट कर लेते हैं. Let's do PMT. Rate is 10%. N पर is this, comma PV is 200 करोड़. अब मैं N पर लेता हूँ 50 साल का. So my PMT is 20.17. If I reverse the formula, if I calculate N per through this equation, it should give me same 50 years. Rate 10%. PMT is 20.17. Present value is 200 crore. It should give me 50 साल now, right? 50 साल में मैं इस लोन को रीपे कर पाऊंगा. So through this PMT function, we can either use N per function, we can also use interest rate function, we can use other functions as well which are similar in a same standpoint. Rate function से हम interest rate निकाल सकते हैं. N per function से हम number of years या number of periods निकाल सकते हैं. PV function से हम present value निकाल सकते हैं for any data set. Then FV function से हम future value निकाल सकते हैं. So we skipped two perspectives while calculating this. मैंने आपको क्या बोला था? What we discussed was that our interest is going to be paid after 1 year, right? But let's assume interest payment happens on day one. Then we have to slightly trickle our formula. PMT rate is 10%. N per is 50 साल. Present value is 200 crore. Future value, we are saying there is no future value. अगर हम कुछ नहीं बोलते, इसको blank छोड़ते हैं, it counts it at 0. Comma. Now I want, what should I want? I want interest to be paid at the end of year 1, or I want interest to be paid at the end of year 0. If I want interest to be paid at the end of year 1, I should not select anything because it is 0. 0 is end of the period. However, if I want interest payment at the beginning of my loan, then I have to select 1 in my last column. If I select 1, then my PMT would be different. It would be 18.34 rather than 20.17. So if I am making a payment at day 1, installments starting day 1, the installments would be lower than installments if I have to make at the year end. Only logic being interest rate would be higher if I make a interest payment at the year end, and that would accumulate. I hope everybody is fine with this one as well. Any questions around, please let me know.
Repeat it once again, please.
Sure. Let's say अगर हमने जब EMI निकाला था, when we were calculating the EMI, we were assuming that interest or EMI payment is happening at the end of the year, which is the usual case. However, if I say this formula was clear, right? Payment D73, 74, 75. In this case, we are doing EMI payment at end of year. However, if somebody asks you to calculate, I want EMI payment at beginning of year rather than end of year, would the same formula work for me? I have to twinkle it around a certain point. What I'll press is PMT. PMT डाला मैंने, rate डाला same, N per डाला which is 50 years, present value डाला 200 करोड़. फ्यूचर वैल्यू मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि 10 साल के बाद मेरे लोन, 50 साल के बाद मेरे लोन की वैल्यू 0 हो जाएगी. सो 0 टाइप करने के बजाय इफ आई लीव ब्लैंक देन ऑल्सो इट इज फाइन. लेट्स लीव इट ब्लैंक. देन आई प्रेस अनदर कोमा. इट इज गिविंग मी टाइप. It is asking me, would the EMI payment be happening at the end of the period or the beginning of the period? 0 represents end of the period, 1 represents beginning of the period. हमने क्या देखा, जब हमने EMI पेमेंट चाहिए थी एंड ऑफ द ईयर में, तब हमने ना ही 0 प्रेस किया, neither we pressed 1. Why didn't we do that? Because automatically if we do not press anything, it understands that we have pressed 0, which means end of the period. However, if we specifically need payments to be made at the beginning of year, then we have to press 1 here and close our bracket, then press enter. So if we have making payment of EMI at the beginning of the year, which is 18.34, our interest would be very lower. What how that situation work, इसको हम एक लोन शेड्यूल से समझने का ट्राई करते हैं. 50 साल की जगह इसको हम 5 साल का ले लेते हैं पीरियड. अगर मैं 5 साल का पीरियड लेता हूं तो मेरा ईएमआई पेमेंट कितना आता है? 47.96. इज इट विजिबल टू एवरीवन?
Yes.
नहीं है. Somebody has asked this question, is this visible to you? 47.96. अब मैं इसको लोन शेड्यूल से समझा रहा हूं. अगर मैं लोन शेड्यूल बनाऊं इसका तो कैसा बनेगा? अब हमारी ईएमआई पेमेंट इंटरेस्ट ड्यू से पहले हो रही है, तो हम इसको थोड़ा शिफ्ट करना पड़ेगा कॉलम्स को.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but can you just shift to other page, like copying all the things, and please let the workings remain same so that we can do it afterwards after the class if you share the same Excel sheet.
Yeah, but that's really simple, so I don't think you would need this Excel sheet, but I can make a copy out of it. Move or copy. Let's move to end, create a copy. Okay. This is sheet 5. Sure. So in this case, we are assuming that our EMI payment is beginning of the year. So हम क्या कर रहे हैं? हमारा first year 0 पे कितना बैलेंस कटा है? लोन कितने का लिया हमने? 200 करोड़ का, राइट? Right or no? Can anybody confirm? I'm
Yes,
saying
right,
that
sir. Right.
answer is right. इसमें पहले EMI पेमेंट हो रहा है या पहले इंटरेस्ट कैलकुलेट होगा? इन आर केस वी आर सेइंग कि पहले EMI पेमेंट होगा, फिर ईयर एंड में इंटरेस्ट कैलकुलेट होगा. What is the EMI payment that we are making? It is 47.96 because our EMIs are getting paid at the beginning of the year rather than at the end. So मैं इसको freeze कर देता हूँ through $sign. अब हम जो पेमेंट हो चुकी है उसके बाद इंटरेस्ट कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं. वुड बाय इंटरेस्ट बी कैलकुलेटेड ऑन 200 or 200 minus 47.96? Simple
200
question.
minus 47.96.
200 minus 47.96, right? Because 47.96 payment has been done at the beginning of the year, so I won't be paying interest on it. तो मैं इन दोनों का सम करता हूँ, उस पे मैं इंटरेस्ट अप्लाई कर देता हूँ, which is 10%. अब हम क्लोजिंग बैलेंस देखते हैं. क्लोजिंग बैलेंस इज 200 minus EMI payment plus interest. My closing balance is 167. Now let's freeze interest rate also, D73. इसको भी फ्रीज कर देते हैं. अगर मैं इस फॉर्मूला को एंड तक ड्रैग करता हूं, अगर मैंने ठीक फॉर्मूला लगाया है अपना पीएमटी कैलकुलेशन में, तो मेरा ईयर 5 का बैलेंस 0 आना चाहिए. द आंसर इज 0, राइट? Which means that I am making the EMI payment at the beginning of the year. My interest is calculated on net of the amount, which is principal amount standing at the beginning of the year, net of the EMI payment, because since that payment was done at the day 0 and interest only would be calculated on the outstanding amount, and closing balance is deducted of that. So we have to look at from market perspective, are our EMIs being paid on the beginning of the year or at the end of the year? If it is paid at the beginning of the year, there would be a different calculation. At the end of the year, there would be a different calculation, right? Hope everybody understands this now. Give me a thumbs up. Good to know. Any doubts, please raise hand. Most of us are fine. No doubts now. So we are done with all the Excel formulas that we wanted to discuss as a part of today's session. You guys would have PDF. जो हमने formulas discuss किए हैं, सबके सब PDF में है. Still, if you want anything else to be discussed, we can discuss in next class. आप अपना doubt लिख लेना. I hope all of you are done with Tata Steel's financial statements reading. एक plain reading ही चाहिए था. I don't want कि आप लोग डिटेल में सब चीजें सीखो, because in subsequent classes we are going to discuss all the topics out. So these were the sort of basic formulas as a modeler or as a valuation guy, as an investment banker, we should know. But once we start doing our again activities like valuation, financial modeling, we will learn more deeper dive formulas that are more critical, like offset, index match, etc. But these are a stepping stone, like ABCD of learning a particular essay. So I hope today's class was fruitful for most of us. The session now is open for doubt. If anybody has doubt, generic doubt, class specific doubt, raise hand. We will take it out. Otherwise, we'll close out our session. एक ही सेशन में सब परफेक्ट हो गए, किसी को डाउट नहीं है?
So I just want to ask your take on like the financial
Yeah,
modeling is like the AI is also adapting the financial modeling and
absolutely
everything. So
correct.
what is your take on that? Like most of my friends got fired from BlackRock yesterday only
Okay.
just because of automation and in finance department. So like
Even
what's your take on that? Like will it affect the financial modeling sector also? Like the person who is proficient in doing financial modeling and everything. What's your take on that?
I think Faisal well pointed out. अभी मार्केट बहुत रिस्की है. मार्केट इज रिस्की ओनली फॉर दोज पर्सन्स हु आर नॉट मूविंग विद मार्केट. अगर मान के चलो आपको एआई आता है, लेट्स से द these formulas are first step. After that you will learn financial modeling. After that you have to learn how to use AI in financial modeling. So those who know how to run AI in financial modeling would survive next 4 to 5 years. However, those who only run the models through the basic formulas, very basic formulas, and do not know the complex thing or those things which AI cannot do, then obviously AI will replace because it is cheaper, right? तो मेरे भी friends काफी हुए हैं. Same perspective has happened with my close friends as well, so I can completely correlate. But the idea is that be compliant with what market is following. Market में आए हम भी सीख लेंगे, हम भी apply कर लेंगे उसको. तो first step is to learn how the models are created, then look at AI. अगर हम सीधा AI के पास जाते हैं, ask them to create a model, they will create, but would that model be beneficial for us? क्या हम उससे क्या कितना पर्सपेक्टिव उठा सकते हैं? हमें उसको कैसे मॉडिफाई करना है, कैसे प्रॉम्प्ट देना है, हमें वो भी सीखना पड़ेगा. तो आई थिंक दिस वुड हैपन जब फोन नहीं था. तो business was running without phones. After phone came into picture and e-commerce platforms came into picture, then businesses who do not run on e-commerce died overnight, है ना? The same thing is going to happen with AI. AI is going to die. Those people who are not working with AI, we have to learn that in longer picture.
In the next classes, are we like including AI here also for the financial?
AI here, we do not have access to critical AIs, but what we can discuss is we can discuss writing prompts to general open AIs like open sources like Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, etc. उसमें prompts कैसे डालते हैं फाइनेंस पर्सपेक्टिव से, वो किसी क्लास में हम डिस्कस कर सकते हैं. बट स्टिल वी डू नॉट हैव प्रीमियम एक्सेस. काफी महंगा प्रीमियम आता है, सो दे आर टेकन generally by larger enterprises. So I think the organizer do not have that access, but we can discuss about writing prompts, that how the finance functions prompts can be written, how we can utilize those, how we can utilize those in reading complex formulas. Let's say एक बहुत ही complex formula है, these were basic formulas that we discussed, उसको आपको read करना है. Human mind can read it, but it will take time. AI can read it within seconds and give you an answer कि वो formula कैसे work कर रहा है. So those sort of prompts we can discuss to make our life easy when we are in financial modeling classes, right?
Does XLOOKUP and VLOOKUP like actually works for the financial modeling, or it may not?
VLOOKUP is a good formula. However, it is least used in complex models. Why it is least used, we will discuss it when we use VLOOKUP, because it has certain limitations. Those limitations are covered up by index match function. XLOOKUP also covers that limitation, but XLOOKUP is not present in all the Excel tools. So
Yeah,
index
it's
match
only on
functions
the
can be
paid versions recently.
correct. So index match function is a replacement out of it that can be used, but we will be discussing that at a later stage. VLOOKUP is least used in complex models. As a base, it is used, but आप जितना complex model बनाओगे, you want it to be more dynamic, right? So that dynamicness can not be created through using VLOOKUP. So you have to look at alternative, either XLOOKUP. If you do not have XLOOKUP, go for index match function. I think we are good now. We don't have any more queries. Give me a thumbs up if you're good with the class. We will end the session and connect
And
next week.
please share that Excel sheet in the chart
I
or
can
maybe.
share that Excel sheet. I think it is very clumsy, but it depends how
That's okay.
you
That's
want.
okay. That
That's okay, right?
until now we were
Sure,
only.
sure. I'll share. Let me share it in the chat. Can I upload something in chat?
Yes.
I can upload, right? Let me share it right now. Please do not discontinue, guys. Delete. I want to share sheet 3. Sheet 3, no. Delete it also. Sheet 4 we discussed today. Then sheet 5 we discussed today. These two are fine. Let me share a
If you
second
have
version.
yesterday's DCF model, the basic DCF model we built, you can share that also.
That was not a DCF model. That was a profit and loss statement and discussion around DCF. So in subsequent sessions, what we will do is I'll share case studies with you for DCF. So don't worry, we will have those Excels with us for sharing out. But right now, it doesn't have a relevance to be shared. हमारे पास एक प्रॉपर मॉडल होगा एक लाइव कंपनी का उस पे हम काम करेंगे राइट
So one more thing, like, is it important to take the terminal value also? Like when we are forecasting, like, is it important to take terminal value?
uh, uh, I'll take your question. First thing, I'm not able to attach it, so I'll ask originator. Or have you got the Excel in comments? I have tried to attach it. Maybe some persons have got.
Yes,
Can you
sir.
see it?
We get
You
in
can see
chat.
it. Good to hear that.
Yes.
Thanks. So now coming to your question. Your question was, is it mandatory to take a terminal value? We discussed that there are two set of companies. First company is that company whose operations are going to end after certain years, that has a limited life, right? For those companies a particular year model is performed. हमने सोलर कंपनी का एग्जांपल लिया था. सोलर कंपनी में लेट्स से 25 साल में उसका धंधा बंद हो जाएगा बिकॉज उसकी एसेट्स कैन ओनली वर्क फॉर 25 ईयर. For that company, what would be our DCF period? It would be 25 years without a terminal period. But for those companies who are required to run for a going concern, you need to have a terminal period, which is taken to perpetuity, right? Either you take a perpetuity cash flow, then discount it, or you can take a terminal period assumption and discount it. So for those companies who are run for a going concern, terminal period assumption should be considered because we cannot stretch our cash flows to infinity, right?
Okay, thank you, sir.
No worries. Thank you for being part of this class. We can drop it out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye,
Have a good day.
Viraj.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
summer.
Good day to you
Bye
too.
bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, sir.